I was sitting in a conference room 300 miles from home when my phone buzzed. I figured it was my wife checking in, maybe asking how the presentation went. Instead, I read 7 words that ended everything. Just FYI, told everyone we're separated for now. No phone call, no conversation, just a text message delivered like she was canceling a dinner reservation. I stared at the screen while someone droned on about quarterly projections in the background. My thumb hovered over the keyboard. Part of me wanted to call immediately, demand an explanation, ask what the hell she was thinking. But something in the phrasing stopped me cold. Told everyone. Past tense, already done. She wasn't asking for my input. She was informing me of a decision she'd already made and announced to the world while I was trapped in meetings hundreds of miles away. I typed back one word. Thanks. Then I put my phone away and walked back into that conference room like my entire life hadn't just imploded through a text notification. The thing about being blindsided is your brain immediately starts rewinding, searching for clues you missed. And once I started looking, they were everywhere. 3 months ago, she joined this new gym and started going 5 times a week, sometimes twice a day. She called it self-care. I called it supportive. Thought it was great she was prioritizing her health. 6 weeks ago came the weekly girls' nights every Thursday. She'd roll in past midnight, and when I asked how it went, she'd get defensive. Told me I was being controlling, that she deserved time with friends. I backed off because that's what you do in a marriage, right? You trust. A month ago, I noticed her phone was always face down. She started taking calls in other rooms, turned her screen brightness way down when texting. I told myself I was being paranoid. 2 weeks before this conference, we were supposed to have dinner together. She canceled last minute because one of her friends was having a crisis. When I suggested we reschedule for the next night, she said she already had plans. I let it slide, gave her space. Figured that's what good husbands do. Turns out, I wasn't giving her space. I was giving her rope, and she used every inch of it to hang our marriage. That evening, I sat through a conference dinner pushing food around my plate while colleagues discussed client retention strategies. Someone asked if I was feeling okay. I said I might be coming down with something. Back in my hotel room, the silence was deafening. She hadn't followed up, hadn't asked if I wanted to talk, hadn't even pretended to care how I took the news. In her mind, the conversation was over. She'd made her announcement, and my opinion simply didn't factor into the equation. I opened social media. There it was. A photo posted 30 minutes ago. Her and 3 friends at some trendy restaurant downtown, all of them laughing. The caption read, "Sometimes you just need a reset with your girls." A reset. That's what she was calling the destruction of our marriage. A reset. I scrolled through the comments. Her sister had liked it. Her mother left heart emojis. Some friend I'd never heard of wrote, "You deserve this, babe." Deserve what exactly? Then I noticed something else. She wasn't wearing her wedding ring in the photo. I sat on the edge of that hotel bed for maybe an hour, just thinking, not panicking, not crying, just processing. She'd presented this as a break to figure things out. But the way she executed it, the timing, the public announcement before even talking to me, the celebration dinner with friends, told me everything I needed to know. This wasn't about figuring things out. This was about her wanting permission to do whatever she'd already been doing, with a safety net in case it didn't work out. The for now part was her insurance policy. Keep me on standby while she explored her options. My phone buzzed. A text from my brother. "Hey, just heard from Mom. What's going on with you and the wife?" So she'd told my family before giving me a heads up. Perfect. I didn't respond to him. Not yet. Instead, I opened my laptop and started making a list. Bank accounts, lease agreement, shared bills, insurance policies. I wasn't being vindictive. I was being practical. If she wanted a separation, she was going to get one. But not her version, where I sit around waiting while she plays the field with a safety net. She said, for now. I decided right there in that hotel room that I'd make it forever. The next morning, I got up, showered, put on a suit, and went to the conference sessions like nothing was wrong. Because technically, nothing was. My wife had made a decision. Now I was going to make mine. During lunch break, I called our landlord's office, got his voicemail and left a message saying I needed to discuss the lease when I got back to town, that it was time-sensitive, professional, polite, no details. Then I called my buddy from college who'd gone to law school. We hadn't talked in months, but he picked up on the third ring. Long time no talk, he said. What's up? Need some advice about divorce proceedings in our state, I said. You got time this week? There was a pause. You and her? Apparently. Yeah, I got time. Come by the office Friday afternoon. No drama, no judgment, just practical help. That's what I needed. I went back to the conference, smiled at the right moments, nodded during presentations, exchanged business cards. No one would have guessed that my marriage was imploding 300 miles away. That evening, I checked her social media again. Another post. This time at some yoga studio with the same group of friends. Day 1 of my wellness journey, the caption read. Wellness journey. She was already rebranding the destruction of our marriage as self-care. One of her friends commented, "Proud of you for putting yourself first." I closed the app, turned off my phone, and sat in silence. She wanted a break to figure things out. Fine, I'd give her clarity. Crystal clear, permanent, no going back clarity. The for now part of her plan was about to have a very short shelf life. Friday morning, I packed my conference materials and checked out of the hotel. 3 days of silence from her end. Not a single follow-up text. Not one, "Are you okay?" or "We should talk." Just radio silence while she lived her best life on social media. The drive home took 4 hours. I used every minute to think, plan, and prepare. No music, no podcasts. Just me and the road, and a growing sense of clarity about what needed to happen next. I didn't go straight to the apartment. Instead, I drove to the office building where our landlord ran his property management company. I'd called ahead that morning, and he'd agreed to meet me during his lunch break. His office was small but organized. Photos of rental properties lined the walls. He shook my hand and gestured to a chair across from his desk. "So, what can I do for you?" he asked. "I need to terminate our lease," I said. "Give proper notice. Do everything by the book. 30 days, right?" He nodded slowly, reading my expression. "That's correct. Mind if I ask what's going on? You two have been good tenants for 3 years." "Marriage is ending," I said simply. "She announced the separation while I was out of town. I'm making it permanent. Need to start fresh." He leaned back in his chair. "I'm sorry to hear that. You sure you don't want to keep the place? I could put just your name on the lease if that works better." "Appreciate it, but no. Too many memories in that apartment. Clean break is better." He pulled up our lease on his computer. "Okay, I'll need you to fill out a termination notice. Since you're both on the lease, technically I should notify her too." "That's fine," I said. "In fact, I'd prefer you did. She's on a yoga retreat this week with friends. Should be back by Tuesday." "Yoga retreat. he repeated, raising an eyebrow slightly. Yeah. He printed out the paperwork, and I signed where indicated. He made a copy for his records and handed me mine. You'll have until the end of next month to be out, he said. If you need a reference for a new place, just let me know. Thanks, Vincent. I appreciate you making this easy. First step completed. She'd get a call from the landlord sometime next week, probably while she was meditating or doing downward dog or whatever else she was doing to find herself. Next stop was the bank. I walked into our branch around 2 in the afternoon. The same teller who'd helped us open our joint account 4 years ago greeted me with a smile. I was directed to a banker's desk. A woman in her 50s with kind eyes and professional demeanor introduced herself as Patricia. How can I assist you? She asked once we were seated. My wife and I have a joint checking account. I need to remove my name from it. Patricia's expression shifted slightly. She'd done this before, clearly. I can help with that. However, just so you're aware, removing yourself means you'll have no access to those funds or account activity going forward. I understand. I'll open a new account in just my name today. Can we transfer exactly half of the current balance to the new account before I remove myself from the joint? Absolutely. That's actually the most common approach in these situations. The process took about 30 minutes. New account opened. Funds transferred. My name removed from the joint account. Clean, legal, no drama. We did the same with the savings account. By the time I left that bank, I'd reclaimed exactly half of everything we'd built together and severed every financial tie. Back in my car, I checked my phone. Still nothing from my wife, but there was a new post on her social media from 2 hours ago. Group photo at some juice bar. Everyone holding green smoothies and grinning. Caption: nourishing body and soul. I drove to the apartment. Our unit was on the 2nd floor, corner spot with decent natural light. I'd actually liked living there. But she was right about one thing. We did need a break. Just not the kind she had in mind. Inside, everything looked exactly as I'd left it 4 days ago. Dishes in the sink from her last meal before leaving. Her yoga mat still rolled up by the door. Mail piled on the counter. I grabbed a beer from the fridge and sat on the couch, looking around at all the shared things we'd accumulated. The coffee table we'd bought together at a thrift store. The bookshelf I'd assembled while she handed me screws. The framed photo from our wedding still hanging on the wall. That photo bothered me now. Both of us smiling like idiots, thinking we had forever figured out. Turns out forever has an expiration date when one person decides to hit the reset button without consulting the other. I took the frame off the wall and put it face down in the hall closet. Didn't throw it away, didn't smash it, just removed it from view. Then I started going through paperwork. Found our lease agreement and highlighted the termination clause. Found insurance documents and made a note to call about separating policies. Found old bank statements showing the pattern I should have noticed months ago. Her spending had increased significantly while her contributions to shared expenses had decreased. ATM withdrawals of $200, $300 at a time. Cash that went to who knows where for who knows what. Meanwhile, I'd been covering most of the rent, utilities, groceries, being the stable one while she found herself. My phone buzzed. Text from my brother again. Mom's asking questions. What should I tell her? I typed back, "Tell her I'm handling it. I'll call her this weekend." "You okay, though?" "Yeah, better than okay, actually. Making moves." "That's what I like to hear. Let me know if you need anything." I spent the rest of the evening organizing. Not packing yet, just making mental notes of what was mine, what was hers, what we'd bought together, trying to figure out the logistics of untangling a life that had been intertwined for 5 years. Around 9, I ordered food delivery, sat on the couch, eating and half watching some show I wasn't really paying attention to. My mind kept circling back to that text. Just FYI, told everyone we're separated for now. The casual cruelty of it still amazed me. Not even the decency of a phone call, just a text notification while I was hundreds of miles away, powerless to respond in person. And then she disappeared to a yoga retreat, celebrating her newfound freedom with friends who probably thought she was so brave for choosing herself. What she didn't realize yet was that I was choosing myself too. Except my version didn't involve smoothies and social media posts. It involved termination notices and separate bank accounts and a clean, definitive exit. She wanted, for now. She was about to learn the difference between a pause button and a stop button. I finished my food, threw away the containers, and went to bed in the guest room. Couldn't stomach sleeping in our bed. Not yet. As I lay there in the dark, I thought about Monday. She'd be back from her retreat, glowing with wellness and self-discovery, expecting to come home to the status quo. Expecting me to be sitting around, waiting for her to decide what came next. Instead, she was going to get a call from Vincent about lease termination. And then she was going to have to face the fact that I'd taken her announcement seriously. More seriously than she'd intended. The last thing I remember thinking before falling asleep was this. She treated our marriage like a subscription service she could pause and resume at will. Time to cancel the subscription permanently. Saturday morning, I woke up with a clear head and a simple plan. Keep moving forward. No second guessing, no emotional spirals, just execute. I made coffee and started going through the apartment room by room with a notebook, documenting everything. Living room. TV was mine from before we got married. Sound system was a wedding gift from my side of the family. Couch we'd bought together, could split or sell. Kitchen. Most appliances were joint purchases. She could have the pots and pans. I'd kept my old set in storage at my parents' place anyway. I wasn't being petty about any of it, just practical. Taking what was mine, leaving what was hers, and not sweating the middle ground. Things could be replaced. Peace of mind couldn't. Around 11, my phone rang. My mother. "Hey, Mom. Honey, I've been worried sick. Your brother said something's going on with you and her. What happened?" I took a breath. She decided we need a separation. Texted me about it while I was at the conference. Then went on a yoga retreat with her friends. Didn't ask, didn't discuss. Just announced it. Silence on the other end for a moment. Then, "She texted you." "Yep," and told everyone before telling me. "That girl," my mother said, and I could hear the anger creeping into her voice. "After everything you've done for her. You supported her through that career change. You were patient when she quit her job to figure things out. And this is how she treats you." "It's fine, Mom. I'm handling it." "How are you handling it? Are you okay?" "Honestly? Yeah. I'm terminating our lease, separating finances, getting everything in order. She wants a break. She's getting a permanent one." "Good," my mother said firmly. "You don't deserve to be treated like some backup option." We talked for another 20 minutes. She offered to help me move whenever I found a new place. Told me I could stay with them if needed, though we both knew I wouldn't take her up on that. After we hung up, I went back to organizing, pulled out some boxes, and started packing my personal items. Books, photos from before the marriage, some kitchen stuff I knew I'd need. Not everything. Just enough to make a statement when she got back. Around 3 in the afternoon, I drove across town to meet my college buddy Lawrence at his law office. It was in a converted historic building downtown, modest but professional. He met me in the lobby and led me back to his office. "Thanks for seeing me on a Saturday," I said as we sat down. "No problem. Gives me an excuse to catch up on paperwork anyway." He pulled out a legal pad and pen. "So walk me through what's happening." I gave him the full story: the text, the yoga retreat, the lease termination, the bank accounts. He took notes and nodded occasionally. "Okay," he said when I finished. "First thing, you did everything right so far. Separating finances, giving proper notice on the lease, documenting everything. That's smart." I figured as much. In this state, you can file for divorce based on separation. Don't need to prove fault, though her abandonment of the marriage certainly doesn't help her case if things get contested. "I don't want a drawn-out fight," I said. "I just want out, clean, fast, done." Then we file no fault. Cite irreconcilable differences. "How long have you been married?" 5 years next month." "Any kids?" "No." "Property besides the apartment you're renting?" "No. Both our cars are in our own names. I've got the newer one, paid off. Hers still has a loan." Lawrence made more notes. "Joint debts?" "Just the usual. Credit cards in our own names mostly. She's got student loans from grad school. Those are hers alone." "Good. This should be straightforward then. We'll need to disclose all assets and debts, but from what you're telling me, this could be wrapped up in a few months if she cooperates." "And if she doesn't?" "Then it takes longer and costs more. But honestly, based on her behavior so far, I'm guessing she'll either try to reconcile when she realizes you're serious, or she'll sign quickly to avoid looking bad." I sat back in my chair. "When can we start?" "I can have paperwork ready by Wednesday. You'll need to be officially separated first, though." "Has she moved out, or have you?" "Neither yet. She gets back from her retreat Tuesday. I'm planning to make my exit clear then." "Okay. Start looking for a new place this week if you haven't already. Once you're physically separated and we have all the financial documents together, we file. She gets served. Then we see how she responds." We spent another hour going over details, discussing timelines, strategizing. By the time I left his office, I had a clear roadmap. It felt good. Having a plan made everything feel less chaotic. On the drive home, I stopped at a storage facility and rented a small unit. 10 by 10, climate controlled. Spent the next 2 hours moving boxes of my stuff there. Not furniture yet, just personal items. Created space in the apartment. Made it obvious that I was already mentally gone. That evening, I checked her social media one more time. Another post from the retreat. This time, a sunset photo with some inspirational quote about letting go of things that no longer serve you. The irony was almost funny. She thought she was letting go of me. Didn't realize I was already gone. Sunday was more of the same. Organized, packed, prepared. Called a few friends and gave them the abbreviated version. Most were supportive. A couple seemed surprised. One friend, Garrett, was blunt about it. "Dude, honestly saw this coming," he said over the phone. "She's been different lately. At that barbecue last month, she spent the whole time on her phone. Barely talked to anyone. And when you went to grab more drinks, I overheard her telling someone she felt trapped." Trapped? Her word, not mine. I didn't say anything because I figured it wasn't my place. But yeah, this doesn't totally shock me. "Well, she's about to feel very untrapped." Garrett laughed darkly. "Good for you, man. Seriously. You deserve better than someone who treats you like a safety net." We talked for a while longer. Made plans to grab dinner the following week. It felt good connecting with people who had my back without judgment or drama. Monday morning, I went to work like normal. Focused on projects, answered emails, sat through meetings. My boss pulled me aside around lunchtime. "Everything okay?" he asked. "You seemed a little off at the conference." "Personal stuff," I said. "Getting divorced, actually. But it's handled. Won't affect my work." He nodded sympathetically. "If you need any time off, just let me know." "Appreciate it, but I'm good. Work's actually a welcome distraction right now." That evening, I did something I'd been putting off. I looked at our text history, scrolled back through months of messages. The shift was obvious once I knew what to look for. 6 months ago, she'd send me random thoughts throughout the day. Funny observations. Things she wanted to do that weekend. Questions about what I wanted for dinner. 4 months ago, the messages got shorter, more functional, less personal. 2 months ago, she stopped initiating conversations entirely, just responded to my messages with brief answers. The pattern was clear. She'd been checking out for half a year. I'd just been too busy, too trusting, or too stupid to notice. I closed the messages and deleted our text thread. Didn't need that history anymore. Tomorrow she'd be back from her retreat. Refreshed, centered, probably expecting to have some calm conversation about where we go from here on her timeline. Instead, she was going to walk into an apartment that was already half emptied, and a husband who'd spent her wellness week planning his exit strategy. She wanted to figure things out. I'd figured them out just fine. The answer was simple. We were done, not for now, forever. I went to bed early that night. Wanted to be well rested for the conversation we were definitely going to have. The last conversation we'd ever need to have as a married couple. Tuesday afternoon, I was at my desk when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail, then listened to the message a minute later. It was Vincent. "Hey, just wanted to give you a heads up. I called your wife about the lease termination like we discussed. She seemed pretty surprised. Anyway, she has my number if she needs to talk. Take care." I smiled. There it was, the first domino. 20 minutes later, my phone exploded. 7 missed calls from her in the span of 10 minutes. Then the texts started rolling in. "What did you do?" "The landlord just called me." "What is this about terminating our lease?" "Are you serious right now?" "We need to talk. Call me back." "This is insane. You can't just make decisions like this without talking to me." That last one made me laugh out loud. A coworker glanced over, concerned. I waved him off. I waited another hour before responding. Let her sit with it. Let her panic a little. Finally, I typed, "You said we're separated. I'm finalizing the logistics. You have 30 days. My phone rang immediately. I declined the call. She called again. Declined again. Then, "I didn't mean we had to move out. Where am I supposed to go?" I replied, "That's something you should have thought about before announcing a separation to everyone without discussing it with me first. This isn't what I meant, and you know it. You texted me that we're separated. I'm treating it like a separation. What exactly did you expect?" 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, "Can we please just talk about this like adults?" "Sure, I'll be home around 6. We can talk then." I put my phone on silent and got back to work. Felt surprisingly calm about the whole thing. Maybe it was because I'd had a week to process while she was busy finding her inner peace. Now she was getting a crash course in consequences. I left work at 5:30 and stopped to grab food on the way home. No point cooking tonight. Walked into the apartment at 6:15 carrying a bag from a local sandwich shop. She was sitting on the couch, still in her yoga retreat clothes, hair pulled back, face clean of makeup, looking smaller somehow. When she saw me, she stood up. "Finally," she said. "I've been calling you all day." "I was at work." I set the food on the counter. "You hungry?" "Are you kidding me right now?" "No, I'm not hungry. I want to know what's going on." I pulled out my sandwich and sat at the kitchen table. "What's going on is exactly what you said. We're separated. I'm making it official." "That's not what I meant." "Then what did you mean?" I took a bite, chewed, swallowed. "Explain it to me." She crossed her arms. "I meant we needed some space, time apart to figure things out." "Okay." "So you wanted to announce to everyone that we're separated, go on vacation with your friends, and then what? Come back and pretend everything's fine?" "It wasn't a vacation. It was a wellness retreat." "Right, wellness retreat. My mistake." I took another bite. "So, what was the plan after the wellness retreat? We just go back to normal?" "We were supposed to talk about it, figure out what we both want." "You didn't ask what I wanted before telling everyone we're separated. Why would my opinion matter now?" She stared at me like I'd grown a second head. "Because we're married." "We're married, past tense." I wiped my mouth with a napkin. "You ended it when you sent that text. I'm just handling the paperwork." "You can't be serious." "I've never been more serious about anything in my life." She sat down heavily on the couch. "This is crazy. You're being ridiculous." "Am I? Let me ask you something. When did you decide you wanted this separation?" "I didn't decide anything. I just needed space to think." "When did you decide you needed space?" She hesitated. "I don't know. A few weeks ago." "And in those few weeks, did you think maybe you should talk to me about it before announcing it to my family, your family, all our friends?" "I was going to talk to you." "When? After the retreat? After you'd already told everyone? After you'd already made up your mind?" I shook my head. "You didn't want a conversation. You wanted permission to do whatever you've been planning. That's not fair. You know what's not fair. Getting a text message 300 miles from home telling me my marriage is over. That's not fair." She put her face in her hands. When she looked up, there were tears. "I didn't say it was over. You said we're separated for now. I'm making it forever. Problem solved. We can fix this. We can go to counseling." "No." "Just like that?" "No." "Just like that." I finished my sandwich and stood up. "You made a choice. Now you get to live with it. I've already talked to a lawyer. Papers will be filed by the end of the week." Her face went pale. "You talked to a lawyer?" "Of course I did. You think I was going to sit around waiting for you to decide if you wanted to keep me? That's not what this is." "Then what is it? Explain it to me in a way that makes sense." She opened her mouth, closed it, tried again. "I just needed time to figure out if this is what I want. And I figured out that I don't want to be with someone who needs time to figure out if they want me. So we're done. You have 30 days to find a new place." I walked past her toward the bedroom to grab some clothes. She followed me. "Where are you going?" "Staying at a friend's place tonight. Don't worry, I'll be back for my stuff. You'll barely notice I'm gone." This is ridiculous. I stopped at the door, turned to face her one last time. "You said separated. I'm just making sure we're on the same page about what that means." Then I left, got in my car, and drove away, while she stood in the doorway, finally understanding that, for now, had an expiration date, and that date had just passed. The next 2 weeks were a blur of logistics and uncomfortable silences. I stayed with Garrett while looking for my own place. She stayed in the apartment, sending me increasingly desperate messages that I mostly ignored. We need to talk about this properly. I made a mistake. Can we please just sit down? Your mom called me. She won't even talk to me anymore. That last one didn't surprise me. My mother had strong opinions about people who played games with her son's life. Friday afternoon, her sister Rachel called me. I answered because I'd always gotten along with Rachel. "Hey," she said carefully. "How are you holding up?" "Fine. You?" Confused, honestly. "She's a mess. Says you won't even talk to her." There's nothing to talk about. She wanted a separation. She got one. Rachel sighed. "Look, I know she handled this wrong. The text was stupid. The timing was worse. But don't you think you're being a little harsh?" "Harsh would have been doing what she did. I'm just being clear. She didn't mean for it to end like this." Then she should have thought about what she actually wanted before announcing it to everyone. I paused. "Rachel, did she tell you she was doing this before she texted me?" Silence on the other end. Then quietly, "Yeah." She mentioned she was thinking about it, maybe a week before the conference. So she planned it, waited until I was out of town, told everyone first, then informed me via text. When you put it like that, there's no other way to put it. She made a calculated decision. Now I'm making mine. Rachel didn't call back after that. The divorce papers were filed Wednesday. She got served Thursday morning at the apartment. Garrett texted me that she'd called him crying, asking if he could talk sense into me. "What did you tell her?" I asked when I called him back. "That you're the sanest I've seen you in months." She didn't like that answer. I found a decent one-bedroom place across town, smaller than the apartment, but it was mine alone. Signed the lease Saturday morning. Got the keys that afternoon. Sunday, I went back to the apartment one last time to get the rest of my stuff. She was there, looking exhausted. "Can we please talk?" she asked as I started loading boxes. "Nothing to say." "I'm sorry. Is that what you want to hear?" "I'm sorry." "Okay." "That's it? Just okay?" I stopped, turned to face her. "What do you want from me? You made your choice. I respected it. Now you're mad because I actually took you seriously." "I didn't think you'd just give up on us." "I didn't give up. You did. When you texted me instead of talking to me. When you told everyone before telling me. When you went on your retreat and posted about freedom and letting go." I picked up another box. "You let go. I'm just making sure you don't fall back." "That's not fair." "You keep saying that. Doesn't make it true." I loaded the last box into my car. She stood in the doorway, watching. "I don't love you anymore," I said quietly. "Maybe I did last week. But watching you panic when you realized I was serious, watching you try to undo what you very deliberately did, I realized something. You didn't want a separation to figure things out. You wanted permission to explore other options with a safety net. And I'm nobody's safety net. That's not true. Doesn't matter now anyway." I closed my trunk. "You have 2 weeks left on the lease. After that, Vincent needs the keys back. Good luck with everything." I got in my car and drove away. Didn't look back. 3 days later, I got a text from her. "I signed the papers. I hope you're happy." I didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. She'd wanted her freedom. Now she had it. All of it. Permanently. Turns out, for now, was a lot shorter than she'd planned. 3 months later, the divorce was finalized. Quick, clean, no contested issues. She kept her car and her student loans. I kept mine. We split what little savings remained after legal fees. Done. I ran into her sister Rachel at a grocery store one Saturday. She looked uncomfortable but stopped to talk. "How have you been?" she asked. "Good. You?" "Fine." She hesitated. "Listen, I just want you to know she's struggling. Had to move back in with our parents. Lost her job last month." "Sorry to hear that." Rachel studied my face. "You don't seem sorry." "I'm not happy about it, but I'm not responsible for it either. She made her choices." "She really did care about you, you know." "Maybe, but not enough to talk to me before blowing up our marriage. Not enough to consider how her actions would affect me." I shrugged. "Caring isn't enough if you don't act like it." Rachel nodded slowly. "Fair enough. Take care of yourself." "You too." Work got better. My boss promoted me to lead a new project. Nothing dramatic, just recognition for solid performance. I took it without fanfare. Garrett and I grabbed dinner one evening. He brought up the divorce without prompting. "You seem different," he said. "In a good way." "How so?" "Lighter, like you're not carrying something heavy anymore." "Yeah, turns out cutting loose dead weight does that." He raised his glass. "To knowing your worth." "To knowing when to walk away," I corrected. We clinked glasses. A few weeks later, I got a message from an unknown number. "Hey, it's me. Just wanted to say I'm sorry for everything. I hope you're doing well." I stared at it for a moment, then deleted it without responding. There was nothing left to say. She'd sent me a text ending our marriage. I'd spent 3 months proving I meant what I said about making it permanent. Some people think closure comes from conversations, explanations, mutual understanding. But sometimes closure is just moving forward and not looking back. She wanted a break to figure things out. Turns out, I figured things out faster than she expected. And what I figured out was simple. I deserved someone who didn't need a wellness retreat to decide if they wanted me. 6 months after the divorce, I was settled into my new place, focused on work, reconnecting with friends I'd neglected. Life wasn't perfect, but it was mine. No drama, no games, no wondering if I was someone's backup plan. An old colleague asked me at a company event how I was doing post-divorce. "Honestly," I said, "best decision I never made." He laughed. "What do you mean?" "She announced it. I just made it permanent." That's one way to look at it. Only way to look at it. Because that's the truth. She'd wanted for now. I'd given her forever. And forever meant I was finally free. Our story has come to an end. If you've made it this far, how about subscribing to our channel? It helps us immensely. I've selected 2 other videos for you that I'm sure you'll enjoy. Feel free to click on them. I'll be waiting for you in the next story. See you soon.